Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to be your guide today as we tackle a beast that literally every single one of us has wrestled with at some point: stress. We are going to completely demystify this universal human experience. We're not just going to talk about what it is, we're going to break down the exact causes, analyze the severe consequences, and, most importantly, equip you with some really actionable, proven management tools to help you go from feeling completely burnt out to finally finding your balance.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to take a quick second and just reflect. When you feel the weight of deadlines or that creeping pressure of your daily obligations, what are you actually feeling? Are you just a bit anxious? Are you genuinely stressed? Or have you tipped all the way over the edge into total burnout? We kind of use these words interchangeably all the time, but as we'll see in the source material, they represent very, very different realities.
So, to conquer this, we've got a clear, structured roadmap. First, what is stress really? Next, identifying your triggers, followed by the heavy cost of inaction. Then we'll hit personal strategies, organizational strategies, and finally, a shared vision for a stress-free environment.
Let's start off with Section 1. What is stress really? We're defining the biological and psychological reality here.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the concept of eustress. Yeah, our source material completely busts the myth that all stress is inherently a bad thing. There is actually a positive form of stress. Mild to moderate levels of pressure can totally elevate our motivation, promote positive behavior, and actually drive really good performance. It's only when this pressure goes completely unchecked that we run into trouble.
Look at the clear distinctions here, because this is absolutely crucial. Anxiety is fundamentally a psychological disturbance. It's basically an emotional reaction to things happening in your environment. Stress, on the other hand, originates as psychological tension, but it slowly leads to an actual physical or biological breakdown. And burnout? Well, that is the end of the line. Prolonged stress leads to burnout, which is characterized by total emotional exhaustion, feeling like you're not accomplishing anything, and severe, severe detachment.
Moving right along to Section 2, identifying your stress triggers. Let's look at the root causes of our pressures. So actual stress is ultimately an interaction between our environment and our own personal traits. On a personal level, family problems or economic difficulties, like the sudden shock of a massive car repair bill or just slow financial growth, those are massive triggers. But it also really comes down to our internal traits. People with higher self-efficacy, meaning they actually believe in their own capacity to bring about change, they tend to remain much calmer. And folks with high psychological hardiness possess this incredible ability to withstand provocation and just survive stressful environments without letting it completely break them.
But hey, we can't just put it all on the individual, right? We have to contrast those personal factors with structural workplace realities. Organizations themselves are massive stress generators. Poor working conditions, think crowded, noisy, or just unsafe areas, those directly increase stress. Then there is task design. If a job is totally overloaded or requires high interdependency with other people, it inevitably causes friction. And of course, administrative policies. Unfair pay, the constant looming threat of downsizing, or those famously rigid bureaucratic rules that drive everyone crazy. They create immense systemic pressure.
Section 3. The heavy cost of stress. Let's talk about the severe consequences of inaction.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we often fall into a vicious cycle. Step 1 starts right in the mind: psychological tensions like anger, anxiety, and depression. If you leave that unresolved, it moves to Step 2. Actually, it's more like it forces its way into Step 2. Physically breaking down the body through physiological disorders. We're talking increased blood pressure, a racing heart, maybe even ulcers. Finally, this physical illness forces Step 3, severe behavioral consequences. We start seeing massive turnover, a huge spike in absenteeism, and people just making highly irrational decisions.
Let's connect this academic reality directly to your daily professional life. When executives or employees are suffering from excessive stress, their perception of reality literally gets distorted. This ruins rational executive decision-making, which leads to a massive loss of organizational resources. Furthermore, that emotional intolerance makes employees impatient, which severely disturbs customer relationships and permanently damages the corporate image. It is for sure a structural nightmare.
All right, Section 4, Personal Stress Management Strategies. Time to start taking back control.
Our source material really hits the nail on the head here. Individuals have to assume automatic responsibility for dealing with their own stress.
You can start by simply calming the body through psychological relaxation, using meditation, biofeedback, or just deep breathing to bring your heart rate down. Once the body is a bit calmer, you can focus on behavioral self-control through self-introspection and basically forcing a positive attitude to prevent interpersonal conflicts. Finally, don't try to do the whole shebang alone. Lean into social management by building strong support networks and friendship clubs to share ideas and just release that tension.
Which brings us to Section 5, how organizations can reduce stress. Structural solutions for the workplace.
So, the crucial point here is that organizations absolutely must be proactive. It starts right at the front door with selection and placement, meaning matching a person's actual personality to the demands of the job. From there, removing ambiguity is key. Techniques like management by objectives and job enrichment give people crystal clear goals and meaningful autonomy. Wrap all of this in open communication, counseling, and democratic leadership, and you effectively replace a rigid bureaucracy with a genuinely supportive, participative climate.
All of these organizational strategies basically roll up into one very powerful concept: quality of work life. The text points out that holistically investing in an employee's working conditions, their social environments, and even housing and recreational facilities is a highly recognized technique to alleviate that underlying organizational stress and develop human resources to their absolute fullest potential.
And finally, Section 6, creating a stress-free environment. This is our shared vision for balance.
To actually pull this off, we have to aggressively diagnose our specific stressors and honestly appraise the costs and benefits of stepping in to fix them. But listen, here is the most important part. Theoretical management, that's easy. Practical management requires a genuine, real commitment to changing attitudes, which means being willing to sacrifice comfortable, yet completely uncongenial habits for much, much healthier ones.
I really want to highlight this bold, direct quote from our source text. Protecting one's health is their responsibility alone. It is such a powerful reminder. Yes, organizations absolutely must improve. Yes, structural flaws need to be fixed. But at the end of the day, your physiological and psychological well-being is ultimately in your own hands. You just cannot wait for the perfect organization to save you from burnout. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to take away from our explainer today. Look at your life right now, today. Based on everything we just covered, what single stressor are you going to eliminate today? Are you going to adjust a personal habit? Maybe have a really tough conversation at work? The tools are right in front of you. It's time to take control. Thank you so much for joining me, and here is to Finding Your Balance.